how does it differ from servitude or slavery of one human to another human being? To put it succinctly before we compare, by being a slave of another human being is degradation. To be a slave and submissive fully to any human being is an act of degradation. Whereas to be a true servant, slave if you like, in a different meaning, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate of dignity and high status. Let us compare these two types of servitude along 4 dimensions. The first difference or dimension, that servitude to another human being may sometimes have an element of choice, such as people quoted in the Quran who come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment and find their bleak destiny, plead with Allah, say, "Oh Allah, we followed the big shots, the leaders amongst us, and they diverted us from the true path." There is an element of that as well we find in the Quran when it describes the Pharaoh, and there are many Pharaohs, by the way, past and present. The Pharaoh, that he just belittled or treated his people with contempt and tyranny. So they obeyed him. So there may be some element of choice there. But the most dramatic and the most common element in servitude of a human to the other is by force. That the slave is forced, is kidnapped, is taken away against their will, and serving against their will to another human being. As we compare this with servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know that it is truly established and predicated on one thing: choice. Choosing to believe in Allah when we have a choice to disbelieve. Choosing to submit to Allah when we have a choice not to submit. Choosing to obey Allah when we have a choice to defy Allah and He gives us still time, food and air to breathe. The true servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the believer is predicated on one's acceptance of Allah as Lord, acceptance of Islam, achieving peace through submission to Allah as a way of living, and accepting of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as the prophet and messenger of Allah. This is in line with what the Quran teaches. The translation of meaning, "O believers, enter into Islam," or submission to Allah, or peace through submission to Allah, fully and wholeheartedly. The second difference of 4, that in servitude of a human to another human being, one person or one group or one race or one ethnicity or one state or one group of states claim without any due right that they are superior to others, that they are the masters and everybody else basically is a slave in one form or the other. So they commit aggression against them. They commit oppression against them without any due right. They exploit them. They plunder their wealth. They occupy their land. They confiscate their property and their rights and their freedoms. And how many of these do we find, both in history and right now in our times? Whereas, in contrast, servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is predicated on admitting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone as the Lord, admitting that Allah is the only one who's superior, the supreme creator of the whole universe, predicated on human equality and lack of any claim of superiority between one human or the other, one group, one ethnicity, one gender over the other, except by one criterion only, one and only: taqwa, being Allah conscious. As the Quran says in the 49th surah, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is at-taqwa, the most observant, the most pious, the most conscious of the presence of Allah in their lives. A third comparison when there is servitude of a human to the other, the servant or the slave toils and works hard, sometimes under very bad conditions, very inhuman conditions. For what? So that the master enjoys the fruits of the work of that slave or servant. Now, in contrast, servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is quite different. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need our worship, does not need our zakah or charity. He's in no need of that. In fact, the Quran says, Allah says in the Quran, I created the human being and the jinn only to worship me. I need no provision from them and have no need for them to feed me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need food after all. He doesn't need us. It's revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah says, that's not the Quran, that's Hadith Qudsi, but the style looks like the Quran. It says, oh human being, it's the first of you and the last of you, the human of you and the jinn of you, were all combined together on the heart of the most pious of you, all united in piety, the most pious. Everybody is the most pious, like everybody else. This will not increase in the domain of Allah an iota. And if all of you, the first and the last, the human and the jinn, are combined and united in their mischief and evil, like the hearts of the most evil of you, it would not diminish from my domain an iota. It is us who benefit from this. The fruits of worship of Allah, the fruits of what we consider sometimes a sacrifice of our time, efforts, or money, Allah doesn't need it. We are the beneficiaries of that when Allah bless us many-fold because of worshipping Him. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi. The spiritual message of Eid, not just eating and drinking, that's fine, but as it was attributed to Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, الذي يسمى who's called actually the fifth righteous Khalifa, ليس العيد لمن لبس الولي ليس العيد لمن لبس الجديد إنما العيد لمن صاف يوم الوعيد. Eid is not just for wearing new clothes, even though the Prophet said himself, but that's not the ultimate. It's not the Eid, but true Eid is for one who is apprehensive about the day of judgment before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This second function, besides the first one, is that Eids are like stations, stops, or halts in the way of the fast train. But that fast train is not non-stop. The train stops every year, once or twice. These are our Eids. But it is a fast train, because once we reach there, as the Quran says, we will look back on this life كأن لم يلبثوا إلا ساعة من النهار يتعارفون بينهم, as if we lived in this earth only just 1 hour. All our years here would be like an hour to get to know one another. The stations where we stop are useful because it is an opportunity to raise some questions, some key questions about our lives and our mission here on earth. What exactly is our role as the trustees of Allah on this earth, which is a sign of dignity? Where is that train taking us? And the answer comes in the Quran. Unto Allah is the final destination. That is the destination of the fast train. The Quran also says everyone and everything is returning back to Allah. The Quran says كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. Everything on earth will perish and remains only the presence of your Lord. What will happen when we reach the destination? Did we advance something that would help us at that destination? Did we